Welcome to the NCDWI Guide podcast, where defenders of the Constitution assemble to prepare for courtroom battle and firm owners gather to develop marketing strategies that will revolutionize the practice of criminal defense. Here's your host, the NCDWI guy, Jake Minnick.
Hello, fellow freedom fighters, and welcome to episode 175 of the NCDWI Guy podcast. On today's episode, we are talking about the daily grind in a positive light. The daily grind is the virtue between two means, as Aristotle would talk about virtue. It's the virtue between complacency on the one hand and frustration due to lack of overnight success on the other. So we are talking about playing the long game, but being an active player in the long game. So there is a beautiful quote by James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, about the building of Rome, the creation of Rome, this incredible civilization, this incredible city, really this incredible ideal. Rome was more than just its emperors, its people, its city. It was a culture, right? And the building of this culture over the long haul. So we've all heard this phrase, Rome wasn't built in a day. And that phrase is true. Rome was not built in a day. But here's the quote from James Clear. Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour. Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour. And I think both parts of this phrase are important, because I do think that the Rome wasn't built in a day mentality is so important in our world of instant access, instant success, overnight influencer, right? In our current world, technology is at your fingertips. Success appears to be this thing that happens overnight if you're doing it right. And if it takes a long time to become successful, then you must have done it the wrong way. The world that we are living in is this instant response world. And there's some level of that we need to really understand and respond to in terms of our businesses, in terms of how quickly we're responding to clients and the means of communication that we are using, and the expectations that we must understand that our team and our clients have in this world where communication is being exchanged instantaneously. Results are expected instantaneously. But when it comes to the pill of success, this, take this pill and you will become a millionaire, that is totally absurd in the world that we are practicing in, and the type of businesses that we want to build. Overnight success is not, in my opinion, the way to build your law firm. Looking for those, that pill of success, looking for that one secret that's going to take everything to the next level, is just not the way that building your business is likely going to happen. And to me, that is not the right way to play the game. And the reasons for this is that a lot of the important pieces of our businesses take time. So I'm going to talk about three of those. And just as kind of a challenge point, as a reflection point, something to think about why overnight success is not the best way to build your law firm, and looking for that is not going to work. So learning takes time. Learning in any industry, any competitive environment, it takes time to get good at something. We talked about the 10,000 hour rule a couple of podcasts back. This idea that to become a master of something, to become an expert at something, it's going to take putting in the legwork day after day after day. And learning takes time. Learning the law takes time. Learning how things are done at the local level, how to file a motion, where to stand in the courtroom, how to present yourself, how to talk with clients, how to conduct a consultation. All of these things take time to learn. And most of the best lessons that I've learned personally, it doesn't mean this is right for everybody, but I do know from talking to other law firm owners that have been at it for a long time that a lot of this learning occurs through trial and error. Doing something, seeing what happens. If it doesn't work, try something different. Doing something, seeing what happens. It kind of works, getting better at it. Doing something, seeing how it works. It works pretty good. How can we make it even better than that? That is the process for long-term build. That is the process for the long-term game. And not only are we as owners tasked with understanding the law and the ramifications for our client and how to kind of live through this nuance of how do we communicate with our client? How do we kind of understand our position in the courtroom and what kind of a production, so to speak, that we are putting on in the courtroom? How do we learn to communicate effectively to judges or jurors in terms of being persuasive in our argumentation style? Same thing with the A's in terms of communicating back and forth about a plea offer, or how to paint your client in the right light. All of these things are part of the massive learning curve that practicing law at the highest level requires. It really requires a ton of nuance. Anybody fresh out of law school can go in and handle a ticket or a charge the day after they receive notice from the bar that they are good to go and they've been sworn into the courtroom. You can start practicing law immediately, but just like any skill, especially one where there is so much art involved, it just takes time. There is a high learning curve. But in addition to becoming masters in the courtroom, masters of our craft, we also have to become, as criminal defense firm owners, as business owners, we have to become masters of business, masters of building a brand, masters of creating a culture that our employees can thrive in, masters of leadership, whether it's with our team in the local community. These are all things that take a mass amount of time. And so the only way to get better at those things is to do it one day at a time, to read one new case a day, to read one chapter in a business book, to set up a lunch with an attorney that's been doing it for a long time, to do consultation after consultation after consultation until we've really, and again, I don't want to use the word perfected, because I don't think there's ever kind of a perfection that occurs. I think there's always ways to get better, but until we've gotten really good, have a mastery of consultations. So this is all stuff that takes time. And I just have seen a lot of young lawyers or lawyers that go out and start their own business, as we used to say, hang their own shingle, that really have become, I think, frustrated, because you see other firms that have been doing it for a long time that appear to have some traction, that appear to be doing it right, that have clients coming in. And the issue is there's no easy way to get to that. There's no easy way to have that kind of stream of clients. There's no easy way to get to that mastery of the courtroom. There's no easy way to kind of building yourself as a leader in the legal community. There's no easy way to do that. It just takes time and daily effort. So education, learning takes time. Another thing that takes time is relationships. It takes time to build these relationships. I have long-term relationships with clients that I have represented 10 years ago. You know, they have sent me other friends and family members that have gotten charged. they have come back to me looking for additional help, additional assistance, helping get their license back, whatever it might be. Relationships with judges, relationships with DAs, relationships with your local clerk's office. All of these things take time. And if you're going the route of instant success, the expectation would then be, well, this particular courtroom person, this particular official at the courthouse is going to treat me like everybody else that's been practicing here for over 20 years. And while that may be a fair expectation, it's not a reasonable expectation. And so building the relationship one day at a time, one case at a time, one argument at a time, that is the key to a long-term successful practice, over and over and over again. And part of the reason that those relationships take time to build is because it takes time, and this is maybe the most important thing, to build your reputation. We've talked about on the podcast a number of times how long it takes to build up your reputation and how easy it is to destroy it with one unethical act or kind of shady dealing. Easy to destroy a reputation. It takes a single moment to do that, but it takes a long time, if not a lifetime, to build a reputation. And that is the most important part of your brand, is your individual character. The reason that it's easier to get A players at the organization at our team now than it was 10 years ago is because we have built a brand. We have built a reputation. The reason that it's easier to get clients to call us now than it was 10 years ago is not primarily due to the different marketing channels that we advertise through. It's because of the brand that we have built up over time. And I know this is true for other lawyers that are succeeding, for other lawyers that have built successful practices, is they have concentrated on the brand that they are building. They have consistently produced positive results for their clients over a period of years. And if you expect to build up that reputation immediately over a period of months, it is a extremely erroneous thought process. It just takes time to build up that brand. And the longer that you remain consistently pushing that brand forward, consistently building your reputation, there is a compounding effect on that. It is more of a bell curve than a straight line in terms of the traction that happens from that consistent effort and energy that is going into handling your clients' cases. So Rome wasn't built in a day. Your practice is not going to be built overnight. Success is not an overnight situation. It just does not happen. There is no lightning in a bottle that is available in the area of criminal and traffic defense. It is one day at a time, pushing the ball forward, one case at a time. Hey, podcast listeners, I want to briefly interrupt today's episode to invite you to join me at the inaugural Freedom Fighter Summit in Asheville this October. This in-person only event is designed for growth-minded lawyers determined to take their criminal defense practice to the next level. Due to the size of the summit's venue, there are a limited number of seats available. Don't miss out on the incredible lineup of speakers and spectacular networking opportunity that this summit provides. For more details, visit www.miniclaw.com/summit. Enter the promo code NCDWIGuy, all lowercase, all one word, at checkout for $150 off your summit ticket. Look forward to seeing you there. Now back to the show. So on the flip side of James Clear's quote, Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour. this part of the quote is so important to me, because I think for the most part it makes sense that Rome wasn't built in a day. Our practices are not going to be built in a day. Don't be frustrated if you're not achieving overnight success. It doesn't exist. Don't be worried about that. Don't be frustrated about that. Just keep putting in the effort. But I also want to caution against the complacent mindset, because Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour. They were building. They were active about it. It wasn't a passive thing. It's not enough for the passage of time to occur where you have not gone out of business that you will automatically achieve success. Just because you have been practicing law for 10, 20, 30, 40 years does not mean that your practice has achieved that kind of level of success. It doesn't mean that you've built things the right way just because you've survived extinction. You've survived going out of business. Now, that's no small task to survive that long. So I don't want to kind of sound unimpressed. It takes a lot to get your business to survive for that long a period of time. Being in the business world is not for the faint of heart. Being a small business owner is not for the faint of heart. If you've been in business for a decade, that is something to be proud of. But you're not going to build Rome. You might build a small Roman town in the outskirts of England, right? In the outskirts of Gaul, wherever the Roman Empire touched. You might be building some small outpost if you're not really pushing it forward just by the passage of time, but you're not building Rome itself. You have to be constantly laying bricks. I read back at, I did an episode on laying the perfect brick, where Will Smith talks about in his autobiography building a wall as a very young boy with his brother for their dad. And his dad's whole message to him and his brother was, don't worry about the damn wall, worry about laying the perfect brick. Sometimes it seems like the wall is impossible to build. Don't worry about that. It's about laying the perfect brick today. So just like I've been talking about on today's episode, it's not about building Rome tomorrow. It's about building Rome over time. Building your practice one case at a time, one client at a time. It may seem insignificant, but if you give your client today a wow experience versus if you give your client today a good experience, you will see a tremendous difference. There is a difference between having a satisfied client and a raving fan as a client. I think all too often, we are worried about avoiding a negative review, worried about kind of getting the right outcome in court, and not worried about how the client is experiencing the representation that we are offering. And if you are looking to build Rome, and not build just some outpost on the outskirts of the empire, if you're looking to build Rome, you need to do that today. It's not going to get built today, but you need to be working on it. You need to be laying the perfect brick today. You need to be performing at the highest level today that you possibly can, because there is a massive difference between the raving fan as a client and somebody that is just satisfied. The satisfied client, feels like they spent their money well, goes out, does their own thing. They're not telling other people about your services. Their antennas are not up about how they can send you business. The raving fan of a client is going out and singing your praises from the proverbial rooftops, is communicating to other friends and family members about the type of experience that they got working with your law firm. And today you can work on building a raving fan base. It's about creating raving fans. So you gotta be intentional about working today. The other thing to avoid when it comes to making sure that you're laying a brick every hour is avoid as much as possible putting up zeros. Don't put up a zero today. Whatever small movement forward there is for your firm, don't put up a zero. Do not put up a zero. This is where a lot of exercise programs fail, because somebody will go all gung-ho about their exercise program. They kick something off New Year's or whatever starting point it is, and they're going gung-ho for 2 or 3 days, maybe even 2 or 3 weeks, getting up, getting after it. But then that one day comes, the alarm clock goes off, and it's like, I'm not going to do it today. I'm not, I don't have the energy, I've run out of time, slept through my alarm, whatever it might be. And they put up a zero. And there is something really mentally terrible about putting up a zero. If you have time to do 5 push-ups instead of your entire 1-hour exercise routine, do the 5 push-ups. Don't put up a zero. If you have time to go for a 1-mile run when you have a 13-mile run scheduled on your training program, whatever it might be, don't put up a zero. Go for that 1-mile run. Same thing is true in your practice. Do not put up zeros. Zeros are incredibly damaging for the psychology of building the Roman civilization. It's about laying bricks. The goal is to lay a perfect brick every day. That is the goal. And that is going to advance your firm forward at the fastest possible speed. But if you can't lay a perfect brick, lay a damn brick. Lay a brick, whatever that looks like in your office. Show up. Get the case worked out. Make that phone call. Look into that marketing opportunity, whatever it might be. Do not put up zeros. Zeros are incredibly dangerous to your practice. And if you're looking to build over the long haul, putting up zeros leads to law firm extinction. Do not put up zeros. Do something today that will advance the firm. On days when you don't feel like it, on days that you're not interested, on days that you are burnt out, do something. Do something small to push the ball forward a little bit. Make that laying a brick a habit, even when laying a perfect brick is not happening. Finally, in order to make sure that you're laying bricks every hour, you have to set goals. You have to set goals. If you do not have a measurable goal in place, if you do not have something that you are trying to do right now to advance the ball forward, you are very likely not building Rome. So if the big, hairy, audacious goal is to build a Romanesque law firm in 10 years, that's the big, hairy, audacious goal. I am going to build Rome, you say to yourself. Well, great. That's awesome. Great goal. Go for it. I encourage you to do that. I hope that there's more and more lawyers that are looking to build Rome. But make sure that you have a 1-year goal that is going to advance you towards that big, hairy, audacious goal of building the Roman Empire law firm, the galactic law firm, whatever we want to call it. You got to have a 1-year goal. You got to have quarterly goals, weekly and daily goals that are advancing the ball forward towards that long-term vision and that long-term impact. We all love to dream. We love to dream big dreams. I think most small business owners have some sort of a dream of what their law firm is going to look like, or something very exciting about opening your own practice, some sort of a vision that is pushing you in that direction. But again, it's not going to be overnight from hanging your own shingle to the Roman Empire law firm. It's stepping stones. And the only way we're going to get to that long-term vision is through a series of much more bite-sized, chunk, small, almost seemingly minuscule goals day in, day out that help us to walk that path towards our 10-year goal. And I can tell you, goals have made a tremendous difference at our law firm in terms of achieving our long-term, big, hairy, audacious goals. When we started using quarterly goals, quarterly rocks several years back, and assigning those rocks to different individuals on our leadership team at the law firm, that has monumentally moved the needle forward because we are focusing on the here and now. The goal is not to achieve the big, hairy, audacious goal this quarter, but there are some bite-sized chunks that we can take, some steps that we can take towards that ultimate end. So make sure that you are setting goals for your firm. Leave you with this, James Clear's words. Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour. Your law firm is not going to be built in a day, but make sure that you are working on the construction of the firm that you envision in the future every hour.